Yeah! Alright, so some of you were wanting to have more of the lead / rhythm playing. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to work on implying what chords are by just playing within our little favorite pentatonic shape, and we're just kind of going to hint at what chords we're going to. Really easy technique, fun to spice up rhythms. So, as usual, click the links below, man. There's tons of killer stuff all over guitar jams and Marty's songs if you want to learn every cover you've ever heard in your life. You know, theory, all sorts of stuff. So, click the links below. Avail yourself of tons, a wealth of information. But let's get to little chord implications. Alright, so we're going to do a basic rhythm. The chords that we're going to work around are going to be a B. I'm just going to do 5 chords. You know, it doesn't mean they're major or minor. It's just a root and a fifth. We're going to do E, which is on the 7th fret, 9th fret of the A string and D string. We're going to go down to D, which is on the 5th and 7th of the A and the D as well. And then I'm going to come down and catch this A. You can also do it up here on the 5 and 7, or just the open A chord. Right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out a B minor pentatonic to kind of imply the chords that I'm playing. So let's hear what maybe the rhythm might sound like without the pentatonic, you know, implications in there. So we got. Now, if I added some, you know, hints of the chords in there within the pentatonic, we could have something like this. Right, so what I'm doing is I'm taking and using my thumb. You know, this is kind of the Hendrix approach to playing pentatonics and rhythm at the same time. You know, he'll play his major and minor chords like that too. But it really frees your hand to, you know, play around and manipulate the notes around where your thumb's at. You know, if you're here, it really opens up your hand to, you know, crawl around like a spider. But anyways, all I'm doing is I'm taking the bottom part of those 5 chords, and it's just, you know, the inverse of what I'm doing here, right? The root note is repeated on the G string. So basically, when I'm playing this chord, I have the root in the 5th here. Now I'm just playing the 5th in the root. So you're just inverting the chord basically, and all I'm doing is I'm playing where this finger, the 3rd finger, would be. Right, and that's right inside that pentatonic. So if I'm at 9 and 9, I would be covering this E chord, you know, without this finger. And if I'm at 5 and 7, my finger right here on the 7 of the D and G would kind of imply that D chord. And then what I can do is I can slide up to 11 and 9 and get kind of that Hendrix thing going. And all I got to do is crawl up one more note, and then I can kind of hit that A. So what I'll do is, to outline the B, I'll use my thumb, and then I'll come down here. So it's really like. So all I'm doing is I'm hitting the 7th fret with my thumb, and I'm hitting 9 and 9 on the D and G, and then I'm going to 7 and 7 on the D and G. So E chord, D chord. And then what I'm going to do is, oftentimes when I hit an E chord, this E chord, I'll slide up and kind of do the Hendrix thing, which is all you're doing is from this chord right here, if you slide up 2 frets, it gets you into that major chord's major pentatonic first position. So all I do is I go, right, and you get that kind of Hendrix-y thing. So what I do is I go, and what I did right there is I slid from the 7th, I'm sorry, that would be the 9th, wrong dot, and slid it up to the 11th fret, and then I just outline that chord using the major pentatonic of the E, which is first position right here, and I just outline that chord the exact same way I'm outlining this B minor and this D and E right here. I just slide up, now I'm in E major, right, and then I come back into B minor. So another way to outline the chords is just play, you know, a pentatonic riff. You know, I'm sliding up, right, I'm right back and using those same 2 notes of going, if you're doing riffs, you know, you're outlining those 2 chords as well. You're just playing single note lines instead. So where this comes in handy is when you have nice syncopated drums, you know. It doesn't have to be, you know, complicated, but creating a nice solid groove. And you know, you've gone around and around a couple times. But say sometimes you have a really good bass player who's kind of moving around doing a bass line, or you have keys to where it's taking up space. And so rather than create a whole, like, you know, hodgepodge of noise, it's cool to be able to come in with a nice punchy guitar part that really doesn't cloud the music. So you can come in and just add little punches. All I'm doing there is I'm sliding into the 2nd position of the minor pentatonic. So I'm sliding from 9 to 11 on the G, and then I'm catching 10 on the B. Now I really recommend practicing this stuff to a drum loop or a beat of some kind. You know, just a simple doom, da, you know, like snare and kick, or like a doom, da, that kind of a beat. You know, just typical rock beat with the snare going, right? And it really helps you get into that pocket. So it's, you don't have to stick to just always outlining those 2 chords. You can embellish a little bit. That's one of my favorite little funk riffs to throw in there. So what you're doing is I outline that the B minor pentatonic, right? I'm hitting that 10 and 10 down here and outlining that bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in some of the major pentatonic with it and get a it's kind of an off-sounding chord, but it's really kind of catches the ear, and it's a fun thing to throw in there in a funk beat. And then you can, you know, go right back into that minor pentatonic, bending it up a half step, and then pull off, and you're right still in that minor pentatonic shape. That's another thing I really like doing is you'll grab that 9 and then go back into the minor pentatonic, which is that 7th fret of the G. So 9 on the B, right? So you can use that kind of stuff in our, outlining of the chords as well. You don't have to just stick to that kind of thing. You can slide in half steps. You can do all sorts of things to add some punch or some flair. So work with, kind of messing with outlining. Take a basic, it doesn't have to be here, it can be anywhere. I like using a pentatonic, say we'll say a minor pentatonic. I use minor pentatonic as a bass a lot to do these kind of riffs where you're just going. So you're basically just going, staying in a nice little box. I'm going, you can use the 7 and 9 on the E and A. You can use 7 and 9 on the A and D. Go down 2 frets to 5 and 7 on the A and D, and then move up to the E and A strings, 5th and 7th fret. So it's just real small area. But it's cool because you can stick right in that one position of the B minor pentatonic and imply all of those chords right there. And I'm just, so right there I'm just pulling off from the G9 and coming back. So G9 to 7, then I go D9, and then I hammer on back from 7 to 9 on the G. Same thing on the D and A. Or you can do the, and all you're doing there is you're sliding up from 9 to 11, catching the 10 on the B, and then sliding back on the G, 11 to 9, and then pulling off to the 7th fret on the G. You can chain them all together. That's just hitting the 7th fret of the G twice. And then we're going to pull off 9 to 7. So it's... And I'll do the same thing on the next strings. And you follow what the shape of the pentatonic would dictate. Right? So play around with that, really work at implying those chords, but trying to stick in one little spot and see how many chords you can cover in like a 4-fret area. Now, it doesn't mean you have to stay there, but it's something that you can work on, work on not always having to really pound out chords all the time. Really be subtle and let the bass player and the singer kind of imply the melody and what's going on, and you just kind of add some more. You're playing more of a rhythm, a percussive rhythm rather than a really melodic, filling up the space kind of a rhythm. And it's fun just to play with, especially if you got a band that really likes to improvise and jam out. It's something you can really have a good time with. So spend some time working with that. Use a metronome, use some sort of a beat so you can work on getting into the pocket, because that's what's really going to make you sound good in that kind of a style is when you can really hit in on those beats, you know, on those kicks and those snares and playing around with where that hi-hat sits, you know, really getting in there. You know, you can get a swing feel, so it's more of a... and get kind of that boogie thing going. All right, so as always, click the links below and catch you next time.